All right, TGI Friday. The circus has officially left town. I'd like to start with congratulations to Superintendent Snelling on a phenomenal preparation and game plan and execution with the support staff, especially Chief DeVries and Chief Hine. It was pretty refreshing to see that level of involvement, engagement, and specifically support for the men and women of this police department who sorely needed leadership after the last 4 or 5 years of this department just morale being shattered day after day. So onward we go. Just like the department and its deployment took an army to make it happen and make it run smoothly, thankfully the massive numbers of protesters never showed up. On our end, trying to support our members, which was a promise we made well over 4 years ago to do something different as the union representation for the members. I hope you all feel that we fulfilled that promise in spades this week. There's a ton of thank yous I'd like to get out here, so bear with me. I'm going to be using notes, which I normally never do, but there's just too many people to mention. I don't want to miss anybody. I'm sure I will anyway, but here we go. I want to start with thanking, in this scenario, my right-hand man, Mike Cosentino. None of our deployment and feeding well over 2,000 officers every single day for the better part of 6 days would have happened without Mike's 18-hour days alongside me doing the shopping, the prepping, and all of that stuff and the cooking and organizing how this deployment was going to work. There was a lot of changes to the game plan, roll with the punches, and move on. One of the roll with the punches kind of scenarios was the fact that we were not expecting any officers at the lodge. That's the last information we had, but they'd be in the area. Well, that changed pretty quickly here starting on Monday. So I'd like to give another thank you, huge thank you, to First Vice President Mike Meddy, who stayed here, guarded the fort, and made sure the men and women and our members definitely were taken care of as best we could, gave them facilities to use, obviously hydration, tried to feed them as best they could for those 4 days. It was no small undertaking to continually supply everything needed to do that. So hats off to Mike. Had a lot of help. One of the most regular, consistent helpers from the board of directors is Chairman Dave DeSanti. Dave goes everywhere we ask him. He does everything I ask him to do as far as helping out and supporting the members. He is always there, and this week was no different. He was at both locations nonstop, picking up, helping out, pitching in, whatever was needed. Dave was there, and he deserves that recognition. But onward with some more. I want to thank, obviously, State President Chris Southwood, State Secretary Ike Hackett, who drove up and supported our troops, covering the midnight shift over at Sox Park. Lodge 263 Corrections President Scott Ward was amazing. Deserves special kudos also because Scott volunteered to bring up his food truck if needed, but even though we didn't need it, he came up anyway and worked his ass off for 3 days at that grill on behalf of our members. That's what building these relationships does. Dorsey, I ain't gonna forget you either, brother. You killed it for 3 nights, absolutely. Labor Council. The Illinois Labor Council pledged, Director Rosenlieb and Mike Powell pledged that we'd have 4 or 5 Labor Council members every single day to help out with manpower issues, and they delivered. So to the Labor Council and its members who participated, thank you very much on behalf of our membership. It meant the world to have that extra help and support. Let's see. Phil Tenorelli, P.O. Candace Jenkins, who was the contact person for the department, as far as I'm concerned, in this lodge. And the constant back and forth, we had to go through changes all day, every day sometimes. Candace rolled with the punches, just kind of go with it and figure out what we're going to do next. Captain Muscolino, phenomenal. Lieutenant Jason Brown and Deputy Don Jerome over at the deployment area in Sox Park were more than accommodating to make sure that we had everything we need to fulfill our mission to support our members. Back home, Mike Garza manned the store. The store had record sales this week, open 12 hours, not normally the case. Along with store manager Ina Zimmerman and Deanna Davison, they did amazing. Our support staff here at the lodge helping make sure all the facilities were as clean as could possibly be for all the officers coming in and out. Adriana, Joseph, and Pat, phenomenal job. Dan Dugan, retired boss from this department came and worked his ass off all day on behalf of our members. Thank you, Dan. Appreciate it. The CPD recruits at the Sox Park campus specifically, you guys were just amazing. You stood out there, you learned what it was to be the police, and just suck it up and work. Congratulations, and looking forward to a long career. You definitely proved yourself there. The National Guard members who were guarding the Sox Park campus. Some amazing men and women. I don't know how they possibly stood in those positions for hours on end, but God bless. Wish we had better accommodations than headquarters for you, but can't really do much about that now. The Salvation Army. Thank you for help the nutrition and the drinks for our members and everybody on that campus, and along with any of the city agency volunteers and employees who were at the Sox Park campus. It just was one great flow day after day after day. So many organizations who helped make this happen. Sorry, I'm kind of losing my voice. I'm exhausted. It's been a long week. ONIAC, the Old Italian American Club in Bridgeport. They not only graciously gave us an extra barbecue to keep up with the pace, but offered storage of supplies. We ended up not needing it, but again, thank you to ONIAC for stepping up and supporting the men and women in the Chicago Police Department. Panos Foods. Bobby, you are a rock star. No matter how many times I changed my order or needed things last minute, you came through and made sure that we had the things we need to feed the troops. D'Amato's Bakery and Marianne Bakery on the bread and the buns needed. I mean, when I tell you we served about 2,000 people a day, it was a lot of work that went into making that happen, and these purveyors helped make that happen. Two special shout outs to some restaurants here. Freddy's on 31st Street, phenomenal. Needed pizzas, 100 pizzas, don't blink an eye, you got it. They never tell me no. They say, just let me know when and where. And they're always there for our members. Also, the Baracco family. Everybody knows the Baracco's name and what they do for law enforcement. And this was no different. Again, another restaurant that stepped up when I needed food in an emergency situation and delivered. One of the other ones was Moe's Cantina. Representative Angie Cuellar Guerrero stepped up and said, I'm going to feed the members on Tuesday night. She had Moe's Cantina collaborate with her and came with her husband, Alex, a CPD member recovering from a catastrophic car injury. And they both not only brought the 250 meals that Moe Cantina put together, they actually helped serve them. So thank you very much to you two and to Moe's Cantina for that. One other one to 5 Hour Energy. They donated a pallet of 5 Hour Energy drinks. I hope somebody got some. We are certainly giving away as best we can. On to the actual manpower. Let's go. Board members, reps. Obviously, Danny Gorman, Jimmy Jack Stavich, Monica Ortiz, Kenyatta Gaines, Rob Noseda, Dennis McGuire, and Fernando Flores, as far as our field reps out there or here all day, every day, working on behalf of the membership. Tom Lonigan, running for pension trustee for the retired. Tom, out there literally at the lodge, or at the trailer, I should say, at Sox Park, 3 days for well over 10 hours each day, killing it, putting in the work on behalf of the membership. John Caparelli, Rick King, Keith Carter, Carlos Yanis Jr., Harold Brown, Danny Trevino, Jack Delante, and Tim Cavelli, all board members who stepped up and helped out when they didn't necessarily have to, but that's what we told you we were going to do as a lodge. Politically speaking, we got mocked a little bit when we bought this trailer and how stupid and useless of an idea it was. I think most of the members can now see how fraternal it actually can be and what its purpose was originally and what it is now, and that it was money well spent. But one of the other things we've done is get involved in political kind of arena well deeper than this lodge has ever been before. And those relationships have specifically paid off in legislation and other things, collaborations. That being said, we put a simple message out to the politicians that we've been working with for the last 3 years. This is a perfect opportunity for all of you to come and say thank you to the men and women protecting this city and this state during this Democratic National Convention. And they took us up on the offer. I want to give a special shout out to Speaker of the House, Chris Welch. He came, he stayed well over 45 minutes yesterday. He addressed the 3 o'clock roll call. So thank you, Speaker, for coming out. Some of the other political leaders that came was obviously Senate Leader John Curran, Senator Don DeWitt, Senator Cam Buckner, Senator Seth Lewis, Mike Porfirio, and Senator Willie Preston. Retired Senator Tony Munoz, who is the lobbyist for 263, also showed up and hung out and helped out. On to the state reps. Officer Pat Sheen out of Plainfield, state rep. Thanks, Pat, for making it. You're a stand-up guy. That's why we support you. Even though he's a fireman, Mike Kelly, we love you. Thanks for coming out. Some of the other reps that came out was Rep Bob Rita, Marty Moylan, Mary Gill, Ann Williams, Dan Auguste, and Anthony DeLuca. I want to give another special shout out to State Rep Brad Stevens, the Melrose Mayor, Rosemont Mayor. Brad financially backed the endeavor. This was a very expensive kind of week for us, but that wasn't the point. And Brad definitely offered to kind of send us some money and offset the cost. So thank you, Brad, a great supporter of law enforcement. Aldermen and women. Pete Chico, our very own CPD member. Anthony Napolitano, who we put to work behind the table with Pete Chico and Savannah Tavares. They definitely didn't hesitate putting on some gloves and helped serving the members the food. Alderman Ray Lopez showed up on midnights, knowing that that's where we needed the most help. Thank you, Ray, for joining in and helping. Alderman Hopkins, O'Shea, Quinn, Gardner, and Silverstein. Thank you for supporting the men and women of the Chicago Police Department. One last mention is for Local 2 and their protest about not having a contract for over 3 years. I want to give recognition to President Pat Cleary. Phenomenal job by you and your team, Pat, organizing and arranging what you were going to do to get your messaging out. I think it was heard across the city, and hopefully that this mayor does the right thing and not only settles the CFD contract, but also the PVPA sergeant, lieutenants, and captains contract sooner rather than later. The DNC is supposed to be the party of labor. Well, by waiting 3.5 years to solve a contract is not the party of labor. It's the party of the circus. Quit playing games, Mr. Mayor, and get these contracts done. Those men and women deserve it. Anyone else I missed, I wholeheartedly apologize. I'm sure there's more than a few. Like I said, it's been an exhausting week. And if somebody pops in, I'll certainly, in my head, I will give them a mention next week. With that being said, have a safe week. To the men and women of the Chicago Police Department, you did us proud. You did a hell of a job. You were professional. You never took the bait, and you showed what being Chicago police officers are really about. God bless. Good night.